New York City Mayor Eric Adams is ending the Debit Card for Migrants program one day after President Donald J. Trump gets reelected. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about New York City Mayor Eric Adams ending the controversial Debit Cards for Migrants program just one day after President Donald J. Trump has resumed his presidency. Now, this is not a thing I'm really surprised at. The whole thing about debit cards for migrants is because New York City was hemorrhaging so much money on these people that are dumped on their doorstep that they say, you know what, the best way for us to do this is to give them a card with cash on it, because if we don't do that, we're going to spend more on giving them services. Now, I'm not trying to make an excuse for it, because New York State and New York City, both sanctuary places where they don't really cooperate with ICE, where they don't really crack down on illegal immigration. So I'm not giving them an excuse, but at the same time, I'm saying this is the reason why they did it. Now that Trump's back in office, we're going to close the border up. So there's no more need to try and fund these people. Hey, if you came to the United States, if you came to New York City and you don't have any money, you don't have enough work to be able to sustain yourself, then oh well. Just because you're working in a chicken plant for $5 an hour does not mean that the taxpayers should subsidize all of your other expenditures. Okay, now before I go any further, let's get into the actual news clip here. I will link to everything in the box. First, we're going to see the general news story. Then we're going to hear a little bit from Mayor Eric Adams himself. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Breaking news, the mayor just announced that the city will no longer issue vouchers to migrants to pay for food, ending a controversial program that had repeatedly come under attack by conservatives and others.
This pilot program in New York City, drenched in both humanity and controversy, distributed debit.
Humanity? What humanity? Humanity as in cutting services across the entire city for the tax-paying residents to pay for the migrants who are here illegally, or they kind of finesse their way through the system, or they're here because the border is wide open when it should not be. Humanity.
Cards to migrant families staying in city-funded hotels and allowing them to buy their own food. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einier following the breaking news for us. Josh?
Well, Bill, it's a program that, as you say, generated plenty of controversy, but now its absence may raise even more questions. The so-called Immediate Response Cards pilot program was designed to help feed migrant families who'd found themselves in New York with no way to afford food. The one-year contract provided what the city described as culturally relevant food to 2,600 migrants.
Culturally relevant food. So not only do they get funded by the taxpayer, they also get the specific things they want. Okay, you coming from this part of the world, you get this food. All right, you coming from that part of the world, you get that. Rather than getting what they should get, which is nothing, or at best, whatever kind of calories they can get to keep living. That's what it should be. But really, it shouldn't be anything.
Families, allowing them to basically buy what they wanted. A family of four with two kids under 5 got about $350 per week to cover food in a program the city.
Can we rewind that? Because let's do a little bit of quick math. Let's do some quick math, because, you know, this right here is one of the things that Americans pointed to as the reason why we voted for Donald J. Trump. Now, look. Let's go back.
Basically buy what they wanted. A family of four with two kids under 5 got about $350 per week.
So family of four with 2 kids under 5, so little kids, they don't require that many calories. You getting $350 a week. Now, I'm no mathematician, but isn't that $1,400 a month on a debit card for totally free? Now, in the case of Western North Carolina and Hurricane Helene, people lost everything, all their possessions. They lost family members, friends, their job, everything. And they had to apply to get $750 and they were getting denied. So look, here's a scenario. Single mom, side of the road, 2 kids in the back of the vehicle, lost her house, lost her job, lost everything. She's trying to get the $700 and then she's getting denied by a computer algorithm automatically with no explanation. Meanwhile, you could be over here illegally in a taxpayer-funded hotel, then you get a debit card with $1,400 on it, and you probably get in a lot more monies. You might have your actual debit card begin to build a nice little bit of savings. You might got 5,000 on it, 10,000 on it. But again, North Carolina lost everything. Figure it out.
To cover food in a program the city said would actually save taxpayers millions a year. It also reduced food waste. You may remember the food the city had been providing in migrant shelters was seen as not culturally sensitive to the needs of some migrant groups, and it ended up.
It must don't really be that big of it must not be that serious if they can pick and choose what they eat. A starving person is not really going to be so selective. Like, oh, well, I don't like that. I'm lactose intolerant. I got a gluten allergy.
Up just going to waste. For more than a year, the city was groaning under the weight of more than 200,000 asylum seekers. Officials say the migrant population has actually reduced lately. In fact, a massive shelter on Roosevelt Island is in the process of closing. In the meantime, Mayor Adams spoke on the phone yesterday with President-elect Donald Trump, who had vowed during his campaign to mass deport migrants. Aside from congratulating him on his win, though, Adams today would not say what they discussed.
Now, what that means at the end right there, because they use like a lot of coded language in the news media, what that means is they didn't get confirmation from Eric Adams on whether or not he asked Trump for a pardon, because that's a whole big thing. Eric Adams has some charges he's facing, which in my opinion ain't nothing but lawfare, because he was a guy that spoke out against the migrant crisis, about how all these migrants are being just dumped upon the United States and especially New York City. Now let's hear a little bit from Eric Adams. I'm gonna link to the full thing in the box, but I won't play the entire thing here. Check it out.
Now to the mayor of New York. Lots of news involving Mayor Adams today, and today he's joining us live on Eyewitness News.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We want to start.
Good to see you both.
Yes, great to see you too. We want to start with your decision late this afternoon to end that food voucher program for immigrants. What led to this decision, and why now?
Well, it was an emergency contract for a sunsetting 1 year. That was what it was in place for 1 year. Now we have moved away from emergency response because we have had a constant decrease in our population, and now we're going to the procurement process that we do now for food. But we've been successful with that program.
Now let's pause. Now some are going to say, well, it was only going to be a year. It's just a coincidence that it got canceled one day after Trump got inaugurated. In my opinion, maybe the contract was drawn up with the anticipation that Trump was going to win. So as soon as he got in office, it's over with, and they can't really get pressure to put it back on because you already know what's going to happen when Trump gets in there. They're going to close the border. Therefore, it won't be a need for this program.
We brought down food waste. We were able to get several thousand individuals to have culturally sensitive food at the same time, and it was successful for the time being. And now we move into the general putting out the RFPs that are needed. It was an emergency, and now we're moving in another direction.
Funding, of course, the big issue surrounding the city, and has been the big issue surrounding your tenure to some degree. Let's talk about some other crucial issues, though. You talked yesterday to President-elect Trump. What did you talk about, and did it involve any funding for New York City, or perhaps lack of funding?
Well, I've been very consistent about private conversations. I don't go into them, but I'm clear. I'm here to fight on behalf of this city. You can't hold your breath and wait 4 years before you start bringing back those resources to the city. We have a new president, and I'm going to collaborate with his administration to deal with some pressing issues that face in our city, particularly around funding. When you look at the billions of dollars we spent with the migrants and asylum seekers, we got very little help from the federal government, and I think it's imperative that we engage on the right foot to say New York needs infrastructure, affordability, and other big ticket items.
Now, one thing I want to say, I think this is a lesson that all the big city mayors should have learned, and the governors, everybody. If they didn't know it before, maybe you don't want to be a sanctuary place, because this kind of thing can happen to you. Oh, you're a sanctuary? You don't want to talk to ICE? You're pretty much welcoming all the illegal aliens. Well, there you go. Take them. Take them. Now, of course, these people in these places didn't expect for the migrant crisis to happen the way it happened. But this is just a warning that it can happen to you and you probably don't want it.
Well, Mayor, speaking of the new president, do you think the Trump presidency will have an impact on your federal case? Are you hoping the charges will be dropped? We do know.
There it is. Now, the charges should be dropped. I'm going to talk about lawfare and Jack Smith and whatnot in a separate video. But all that stuff should be dropped because it was clearly an attempt at intimidation. It was clearly an attempt to silence him, to silence Trump, to silence us, the American people, but it didn't work. So you should abandon the actual program that you're doing. This whole issue with lawfare, you should abandon it. It's not working. It did not work.
That he said that you were being unfairly targeted because of your criticism of the Biden administration's immigration policy. What are your thoughts on that? And have you spoken to Trump about this?
No, I did not. And I've been extremely clear that I've done nothing wrong, and I have competent attorneys that are going to handle that case. My job is to do what I was elected to do, and that's fight on behalf of New Yorkers. And anyone who conflate the two just really don't know who I've been for the last 30 plus years as a public servant from police officer to an elected official. I'm going to fight and defend this city. This city deserves that, and that is what I'm going to continue to do.
Very well. And shout out to the song in the background. Okay. I love it. Now, as I close, I want to say this. I'm glad that this program is coming to an end. Hopefully, as I was saying earlier, they can stop being a sanctuary. That'd be great. Take what happened and learn from it. Don't just kind of react with little things. Nah, take it and learn from it. Do some actual structural changes to government in the cities, in the states. Because if you don't, it'll be very easy for another president to come around and do the exact same thing that the Biden-Harris administration did. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on this whole situation? Do you think that it's the right thing to do to end this program? Should the program have never started to begin with? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. The program should have never existed. It shouldn't have ever really been a thing, but it was, unfortunately. And now we get to see it come to an end. Finally. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.